Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, political fighters. Welcome to the July 24th, 2026 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. And you can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Follow me on all the socials, yes, under Choose Views, and catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, the great Patty Vasquez driving it home. It's the Democracy Stupid, and it's Saturday tomorrow, so you know Edwin's going to be hanging out with you. And out Chicago, as well as our other great shows and interviews. And make sure in the evenings, guys, and we're going to have them today, the Politics Bar is going to be with us. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Make sure in the evenings you're checking out the Politics Bar, the Matt McNeil Show, and the Gailey Show. And make your way over to Heartland Signal. A couple of cool things that are happening over there, a couple of quick articles. Probably one of the one you guys want to check out again. Last week, as you remember, I had a chance to speak with Peggy Flanagan. And she spoke in depth about the importance of grassroots organizing and what it's accomplished in the state in Minnesota, where they can, she's running for U.S. Senate, but she's also fully aware of the importance of the grassroots connection that state has provided so many of the great leaders from Minnesota. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com and check out what we're doing there. Let me, guys, give you the lineup. On today's show, we will be talking in a few minutes with Illinois Senator L.G. Sims, talking about the governor's recent designation of Emmett Till Day and that recognition. So he'll be with us for a few minutes just to chat about what's happening there. In the 6:30 hour, Rick Smith, host of the Rick Smith Show, will be with us. And at 7 o'clock, it's me, Karen, Jody, and Sean. I guess we could call this a Fantastic Four this morning, but Karen Byrne will be in studio with us, and then we'll have our good friends from the Politics Bar, Sean Pierce Smith, and Jody Hamilton will be with us. So looking forward to it. 7:30, we'll be talking with one of Minnesota's leading voices and a very important voice right now in Minnesota politics, and that's Richard Kalbaum, who is the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farm Labor Party, also known as the DFL. So looking forward to having everybody on, Sean and Jody and Karen and, of course, Rick Smith and Senator L.G. Sims. So that's what's happening on the show today. We'll hit everything we can. I'll put it that way because we got a lot going on. But question of the day that I want to hit you guys with real quickly is, other than the increases at the gas pump, which have been significant, so I don't want to make them less than they have been, but other than the increases at the gas pump, what is another area that you have had specific budget or expense increases since the start of Trump's war? So, the conversation around gas prices is a big one. It's something that, I think pretty much everybody has leaned in on in one way or another, certainly on our side of this conversation. But what are some other areas where you guys you've got some noted expenses that have increased that you can say, yeah, I'm paying more for this or I'm paying more for that? I did a breakdown, if you guys remember last week, on what those numbers look like in terms of the war, and I'm also going to, on Monday, I'll be bringing to you a little bit of additional breakdown on what the numbers look like as it relates to tariffs, so we can try to talk a little bit about that. But let us know, other than the increases at the gas pump, what is another area you have had specific budget or expense increases since the start of Trump's Iran war. Want to hear from you? Text us, of course, at 773-763-9278. Give us a call. We'll try to get your comments on if we can't get you actually on. We might take some calls when Jody and Sean and Karen are on. I know that'll be a lot, but we'll see how we're rolling. But let us know what your thoughts are there. So I know we probably may talk about this when our guests are on, but I want to make my comments about it right now. I am, in the words of the late Fannie Lou Hamer. If you don't know who she is, look her up. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of police officers gunning down people in the streets, whether they be ICE or they be Metropolitan Police of any city. I don't care, blue, red, in between. I'm sick and tired of that. On any given day, we're starting to wonder. I mean, unfortunately, I felt this way a long time in my life for the obvious reasons that you know about me and being a black dude in the good old United States of America. But doggone it, when is this craziness going to stop? That officer should be fired, if not prosecuted. I don't need to see all the investigative detail and all the whatever they want to throw at us to make it sound like it was a justified shooting of this gentleman in Madison. I watched the video more than enough times to make my own assessment. I don't need to have them. They're doing their investigative whatever. That was an assassination. And let me just tell you, I asked this question to try to be fair. Should we stop tasing people? Because I'm just going to go with what I know could potentially happen to someone that gets tased. Their body could react in a way that may give somebody the impression that they're lunging in that person's direction. I'm willing to even go there. Y'all don't hate me on that, but I'm willing to go there and say that could give law enforcement the impression that the person is lunging in their direction, because depending on how they got tased, if they got tased in the back and their body may lunge forward, the officer on the other side could think that that person was coming at them. I get that. I truly do get that. But if that's the case, step the hell out of the way. It's like, why are police officers suddenly stepping in front of moving vehicles? Are they been watching too many damn video games? If the person gets tased and they've lunged in that direction, I can see that, but just step out of the way or knock them down. I'm okay with you knocking them down if you got to do that, if they're wielding a knife. I truly am. If somebody lunged at me with a knife, I'd want to knock them down. But I don't care what anybody in law enforcement or ex-law enforcement, I don't give a damn. To pull your gun, to unholster your gun and fire 3 shots into somebody that's 3 feet, 4 feet away from you, I'm sorry, y'all. No, I'm not. That's a punk-ass move. And we have to do better, America. There is no way on God's green earth and planet that we should be allowing police officers to assassinate people on the street. And I'm going to go here too. I don't care if he was Hispanic, African American, Muslim, Asian, white, from the north, the south, the east, or the west, male, female, LGBTQ plus. I don't care. This garbage has got to stop. And what I don't want to see is the federal folks get involved in this, because that which direction that's going to go. But the state investigators in Wisconsin, y'all gonna have to step up on this one. This can't be left into the hands of the Madison Police Department. I don't care if the leaders there are black or if they're white or if they're whatever. I don't care. This has got to stop. If he was on something, if he had some issues going on, he was wielding a knife, knock his ass down. You all should be trained to be able to do that. And I see all this scuffling with, 3 people trying to take down a person. Throw a blanket over him. Take his vision away. I'm not trying to make light of this, but I guess I am. But damn, y'all, this has got to stop, Henry. I mean, if you haven't seen the video, don't shy your eyes from it. Watch the damn video. This officer pulled his weapon out and shot this guy 3 times from close range. If he felt like his life was threatened, then he needs to retire from the police department, because unfortunately, there's probably bigger threats that you've not seen come your way. I could go on about this, and that's what we should do, because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing law enforcement assassinate people on the streets of America. And candidly, I could care less the color of the person or the culture of the community. I'm just tired of seeing that. Let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in and listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls for the first half of the show, then talking to Chris Fitzsimmons, host of the Stories from the States podcast, retired Army General Randy Manner, former acting vice chair of the National Guard Bureau, and Jennifer Militello, the New Hampshire Poet Laureate, will be with Joan, Live, Local, and Progressive today, and always weekdays 2 to 5 on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in, as well as this afternoon from 5 to 7, or this evening, I should say, driving in home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by co-host Natalie Ziemba, Woodstock City Council member, Robert Held, Chicago attorney, and Patty will also talk to Alex Papadopoulos, president and founder of the Igea Wealth Management Company. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook, and we'll tell you more a little bit later in the show. That being said, let's grab our first guest. He is Illinois State Senator representing the 17th District. Look at him. Senator Sims, good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm outstanding, Richard. How about you this morning?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. Thanks for taking some time to hang out with us for a little bit. I know that I was thinking about you this morning on the drive in, thinking about how I was going to start this conversation, because what you're going to talk about is yet again something that it's a reminder of. We can't just be killing people in America. And we go back
right.
And I look at this in relationship to what I was just talking about with what happened up in Madison. And of course, you're here to talk about Emmett Till Day in the state of Illinois. So take it away, Senator. I'll shut up.
Well, Richard, first of all, thanks for having me. It's always great to be with you. I as I sat there yesterday in the signing ceremony, and I was thinking about the fact that we were on hallowed ground. Mm-hmm. The fact that when Mrs. Mamie Mobley Till, when she refused to close that casket, she was saying that my pain and the pain that I'm feeling, it's not just about me, it's about us, and we've got to expose the fact that America is still not lived up to that more perfect union. We're still in pursuit of that. And as I sat there, I thought about the fact that we have made tremendous. It's been 70 years. Think about that. 7 decades since his murder.
Yeah.
And we've made tremendous strides. We put a man on the moon. We've had a Supreme Court decision that was supposed to end segregation in our public schools and public institutions. We've even elected the first African American president.
Yeah.
But we are still dealing with the same situations and issues, many of them even worse than they were in those 7 decades ago.
Yeah.
We're still dealing with. We're still in pursuit of that more perfect union, and we've got to do that, and we've got to remember that. And it was ironic, as I left that signing ceremony, I was going to pick up food for the office, and I ended up, ironically enough, on Emmett Till Road. It was unplanned.
Come on.
It was unplanned, but I'm driving, and I drove, and I turned down a block, and I looked, and I was right by Oak Ridge Cemetery, and I looked up, and it's 71st Street, and it's Emmett Till Road.
Yeah.
And it was almost like it was ordained for, in that moment, for to say, job well done.
Yeah.
I want to remind you that we are still in pursuit of that more perfect union, and keep up the fight.
Yeah.
Because I talked about, during my comments, I talked about the fact that, it was too late for Emmett. It's too late for Laquan McDonald. It's too late for Breonna Taylor. I did not mention him, but I was just in Dallas, and it's too late for Carmelo Anthony. But we're still dealing with these situations, and we cannot give up the ability. We cannot stop fighting for and not lifting up the work that we've been doing in this country to make sure we are in pursuit of that more perfect union. As I say, I had to share that story with you.
No, I'm glad you did, and I will tell you, there's many folk that are listening all over the country that have had those kinds of moments. I'm of the belief, Senator, that when we hope and pray to whomever and whatever we pray to and hope to, that those moments happen. But I also ask for a little bit of help to pay attention when they do, so we don't miss them. Do you know what I mean? We're so going and doing that those moments come, and they come from a variety of different things in our lives and for a variety of different reasons. But when they happen, that you're plugged into the message, and you obviously were. So thank you for sharing that with us. The simple question, as I ask, and I know we don't have a ton of time this morning, but what was other than the obvious, the genesis, the origin of putting this together, and the governor being a part of this, and you guys making sure that this happened? What was this thing that said, all right, let's get this done?
Absolutely. Well, there's been this full-on assault on history in America, and if you can normalize or diminish the pain that has been levied on certain segments of our population, then it's normalized. It's okay, and we can't do that. We cannot ignore the pain that has been levied against so many in our communities, whether you are African American, whether you're a woman, whether you're an LGBTQ member of the LGBTQ community, Latino, the Asian community. There has been this effort to diminish the pain, and as if to say, well, if you call it out, you're unpatriotic. That's absolutely not the truth. It is the exact opposite. The fact that I am willing to say to the country that I love, you are better, and you can be better than this. And I think that was the genesis. The genesis was we have this full-on assault on our history, a full-on assault on the legacy that we've engaged in. We've got to remember that even though we are the most powerful and the best country in the world, we are the most powerful, the best democracy in the world, we are not perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that the framers of the Constitution, as brilliant as they were flawed, and they recognized that. And they recognized that they were in pursuit of a more perfect union, and they were creating this plane as they flew it. They also gave us the tools to say, hey, we know that we're not perfect. We've not done all that we can do, but we are giving you the tools to be in pursuit of that more perfect union. Yeah. And I think that was really where this came from. And I Senator Hunter, Maddie Hunter, I've got to give her all the credit. She was the lead sponsor of the bill in the Senate.
Okay.
She is someone who recognizes and who's unabashedly and unashamed of making sure that she lifts up these ideas and ideals. And I was honored to, she could not be there yesterday, so she asked me to step in and stand in her stead, and I was happy to do that because I recognize that that it's our responsibility to protect our legacy, and that's really what this was all about.
Senator, as we wrap up, the thing I'll say that came to mind, and I didn't want to interrupt you when you talked about us being the best country on the planet, the best country in the world, et cetera. What comes with that in that pursuit and living that out in actuality is an immense responsibility to constantly check and review. How good are we actually being on all fronts? If we're going to call ourselves that, and sometimes I don't think that we are. In fact, many times more often than not, we are not that. But I think that the responsibility that comes with the label, with that, is we have to do a better job, or constantly be in that, review and criticism to push toward, as you said, being better, working to be better, making sure that we don't leave people behind, that we aren't causing harm in communities, and all the rest of the things that could be on that list of what would make us better. But it's important that we have these conversations, and I'm glad that you guys were willing to not just have a conversation, but also put something in place to acknowledge the sadness, but also the greatness that we've been able to create post Emmett Till's murder. How can folks find you as we let you go this morning? I know you got a busy morning, but how can folks get with the good senator?
I appreciate that. You can always call my office at 773-933-7715. Visit my website at www.senatorlgsims.com. If folks are looking for something to do today, we're actually hosting a movie night where we're showing the movie Michael in partnership with Carter Temple CME Church, 7841 South Wabash, at 1:00. So if they go to my website, we still have there are a few tickets still left. We're running out, but if folks are interested, we'd certainly love to have them come by.
Absolutely. Senator L.G. Sims from the 17th District here in Illinois, one of our great leaders. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this morning. Have a great rest of the day, okay?
Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks so much.
You too.
For having me.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Guys, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be talking with another great progressive voice, Rick Smith, the host of The Rick Smith Show. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. If you are just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and I appreciate you guys being with us. Thanks to Illinois State Senator L.G. Sims for taking some time out to hang out with us this morning to talk about what Governor Pritzker and many other state legislators just signed in Illinois, making this designated Emmett Till Day. What a great move on the part of the governor and the other state elected officials. We have so many great voices on our team, and I'm very definitive about we have a team. We have a strong team. Our ideas are better. And one of those voices is Rick Smith, the host of The Rick Smith Show, which you guys hear on WC. That was one weird one. That you guys hear on this station, WCPT. Rick's with us this morning, and it's good to see you, my man. How are you doing?
Good morning, Comrade Chu. How are we this fine day?
Very well, brother. Very, very well. I think you and I got the message. We both wore shades of gray this morning. So, and I'm not talking about the hair on our head. Rick, I got to tell you something, man. One of the things that like in the mornings, obviously, and I get to the station and we have you on and I'm listening to you and your broadcast. And there's been more than a few times where you were talking to someone and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to add that to the conversation today. So it's always great to be on after your great show. And one of my favorite pictures of you is it's one where you're standing with your hand kind of across your chin and you're looking out kind of into the world, like as if to say, what the hell is going on, y'all? And it's
every day.
You know what I'm talking about?
Every day. No, look, I started off with a satirical greeting because right now I'm being inundated with, you're a communist, because I have the audacity to say, you know what, maybe we should have health care. Maybe we should get education. Maybe we should have an infrastructure that, I don't know, isn't crumbling. Maybe we should get better wages, hours, conditions. Maybe the lifestyle that my grandparents' generation fought, bled, and died for to pass on to their children and grandchildren, maybe that was kind of a good idea.
Yeah.
But today, everything, it seems, maybe you can help me here, but it seems like everything Trump doesn't like is now, it's all no, it's communist. It's not communist, it's communist now. But there's this now, the new, I don't like it, it's the communist doctrine. So, yeah, welcome to America 26.
Yeah, Rick, one of the things you and I both come from the background of hardworking folk, hardworking family, community, and all the rest. And we recognize we've recognized for a long time that things have not been the way that were, what our grandparents experienced, frankly, what our parents experienced in terms of that sort of regular day-to-day good opportunity, et cetera, when it comes to work, particularly in what has been deemed as the labor market or the manufacturing market, or people would say the lunch pail market. All of those are great designators. When I think about that, though, I also wonder if you can say this is the point where it really shifted. I have my assessment of it. Like, this is the time when I can go, it was about this time that the country lost its way and has never really gotten back on track. Where would you say, in terms of years or window of years, that you feel that really started to happen?
I'm going to go, honestly, I go back to the Reagan years where, we really had an ideological shift in our leadership, to where, the ideal of work hard, play by the rules, get ahead was prevalent with my grandparents' generation. And then there was a mechanism to actually do this. Understand, the FDR era was about strong unions, strong public investment. That generation was able to build a lifestyle based on cheap housing, reasonable price products, and good wages. So their standard of living was higher. We then, during the Reagan era, everything became greed is good. The one who dies with the most toys wins. And now Wall Street is the center of what we do in financial speculation. And, we're going to gamble and win. And we turned housing into speculation. We turned everything into how someone can extract something from someone else. And now we've got a billionaire class second to none in history. And we've got a poverty class that's growing. And the gap between the haves and the have-nots has never been greater, even in the Gilded Age.
Right.
It's never been greater than it is right now. So look, the anger is real. And what are we fed? We're fed that if you don't like it, you're a communist. We've got the Red Scare with an iPhone. We've got, Donald Trump saying that, the communists are coming, but manufacturing, everything that we've got is done well by communists. It's a really bizarre moment to live.
And check this
America.
out. Last week, obviously his week A speech that he gave, and then what Marco and Mark Wayne Mullen and Stephen Miller had to say about you. Yeah, I just saw your head shake. You, me, and thousands of other voices that are trying to keep the train from running off the track any further. If we say something that they don't like or that they think that they disagree with, that suddenly you and myself and many others are left-wing communists and we're here to evaporate society and mankind. I'm like, I saw that, and I spoke about it last Friday a little bit and then on Monday, but I look at that and I really, honestly, Trump's speech didn't like scare me or concern me, because he can't even speak words that need to be spoken on a good day. But what those three said to me was more concerning, or more not sound like Susan Collins, but something we got to lean into and pay attention to.
No, without question. No, Richard, look, maybe I took it a little different than you, because I walked away from that speech going, that's probably the scariest political speech that I've ever heard, in that he's saying, we're going to sick the DOJ on anyone that we don't agree with. And,
who
let the dogs out? because you brought up Rubio and Mullen and the cavalcade of crazy that's now running our government. Stephen freaking Miller. That's basically going, we now know who let the dogs out, and it's Trump. And those are the people that I'm most afraid of.
Yeah, me too.
Because Trump has now given them the power and the authority and what he believes in his mind, because
unitary executive
only what's
theory
in his mind.
Yeah.
He's given them the ability to do it. And look, this is where the scary part comes. Immediately, my magosphere began hitting me with, we're going to go get those people. So those federal workers who were doing their job as tasked by Congress, they're now enemies of the state. And that's what's frightening to me when you're going to have a government. I mean, I immediately thought of Ethel and Julius Rosenberg.
Yeah.
We murdered a couple of people because we thought they were communists. We thought they were given stuff. Turns out they weren't, but they're still dead.
And here's the thing about the whole communist conversation. Then we have, Trump's boy, I almost called the wrong name, but Kash Patel is going to take his goofy behind to Russia to meet in St. Petersburg, not in Moscow. So we know, I talked about this the other day, we're communists, you and I, who speak to bettering everybody's lives, whether they're red, blue, or in the middle, on all fronts. But this guy who's been an election denier and all the rest that he's carried, and frankly, an a-hole when it comes to being the director of that department. Now he's running off to Russia in October, right before the election. I'm
okay with it. Let him go. I'm okay with it, because you know what he's not doing then?
He's not messing up stuff here.
He's not screwing with anybody here.
Yeah.
I would, let's send him to North Korea. Let's trot him all over the world. Let him go drink beer with I don't care who. Let him get drunk everywhere. Look, your vodka in Russia. Maybe they will come back with a cash vodka. I don't know. And look, if you want to slap the FBI logo on it, great. Just don't be screwing with people.
Yeah.
This is my problem when. I guess the FBI is the one that scares me the least, because I think he's the least functional of all of the scary people in this cabinet. All of the yes men and sycophants that Trump has surrounded himself with. And that's the frightening thing. There's nobody. I was watching a clip of all the Republicans standing clapping through the entire Lee Greenwood song. And nobody wanted to stop clapping until the song ended. And you just had Trump standing there with this goofy look on his face. And I'm like, is nobody's hands getting tired after clapping for 3.5 freaking minutes to just not get the ire of this goofy?
Mm-hmm. Listen. Listen, you and I are. there's so many of us that. Our parents raised us a certain way to be respectful, and you and I have the FCC that we've got to be mindful of what we say on a live broadcast. But I feel that 1,000%, because that's exactly what it is. And the other part, I mean, Rick, this is the thing that I know you can appreciate. You grew up with and worked with all your life, men and women, who are stone cold patriots. They work their behinds off. They've done all the things that are, quote, in the book of what you do to succeed in America. And they are qualified to do the work, whether it be in the private sector or the public sector. And then we've got these yahoos that are in these roles now that couldn't fight themselves out of a paper bag, that are making decisions on the destinies of the lives of the truly qualified people. So when I think about you, who I would say is probably America's champion, or certainly leading voice when it comes to labor, that's the part for me that becomes strenuous, because I look around and I see people who are so much more qualified to be in these roles. And I know you see it too, the people that you talk with.
No, I ask that every day. Is this the best this country has to offer? And it's no wonder the rest of the world is moving on without us.
Yeah. And that's happening. Talk about that for a second.
Without question. I mean, you've got Japan and in countries that haven't spoken to each other in years, talking about trade pacts. You've got the Chinese who are now bringing EVs into Canada. Yep. Our biggest ally, the longest border in the history of the world, the lengthiest border in the world, the most peace between two countries in the history of the world, and we've got Trump who's trying to kick our greatest ally.
Yeah.
And why? I don't know. For some ego trip, but I'll tell you, it's we're in a weird world. And I didn't have explosive diarrhea on my bingo card, but here we are, where this is, thanks to RFK Jr. and the Maha morons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're making measles great again. I mean, there's so many things that we're making great again that I don't know that Americans really. I think we're tired of winning. I think
Rick,
we're tired.
check this one out. We'll hit a quick break. My wife and I went to Canada last October for a few days, and we had a great time. We were welcomed. It was kind of that a trip that was needed to re-energize you in faith in humanity. And I know exactly the vehicle you're talking about, because my wife and I were walking down the street going to a museum, and she's like, "What's that?" And I told her, and she said, "Where's that made?" And I said, "It ain't made in America." And you know which car, I'm not going to promote the car's name, but you know which one I'm talking about. And I was like, yeah, that's what's happening. So, we have a lot more work to do than they're giving credit to. So, Rick, let's take a quick break, my man. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with the great host of the Rick Smith Show, Rick Smith. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu. We are talking with Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. As I say, and I've said so many times, one of the unique perspectives and leading voices when it comes to progressive conversations, and very, very specifically leading voices when it comes to the labor movement that we want to re-energize in our great country. Rick, I hear people talk about this a lot in terms of we can't tax the rich, and we should be, but you know where I'm coming from. Taxing the rich is going to influence the downflow of money and that whole garbage, which you and I have seen for 4 decades was a bunch of garbage. There's some other fancy words that we could use, but that's the one we'll use today. I have this real simple solution, not solution, but a real simple application to this conversation. If they don't want to tax, if those who don't want to tax the rich don't want to tax the rich, then the other side of that coin, because you're not going to get everything, you shouldn't get everything, just pay people more money. I mean, to fix one of the biggest issues, when I look at this from a financial planner standpoint and an advisor, I think, okay, well, if we can create more income, then that helps to solve one of the concerns when it comes to inflation, when it comes to tariffs that are not effectively used or properly used. Let's just pay people more money. If we go back to when you and I were teenagers, to your point about parents and grandparents, it was capable for a family to live on $25,000 a year if it's a combined income or a single income. That was a reality. But we haven't seen the wage growth that is beyond necessary. And
there's a reason for that.
Go for it.
There's an absolute reason for that. I mean, again, I pointed to the Reagan era, the assault on the top marginal tax rate, taking it from 70% down to 28%, ballooning our national deficits and our debts, and also the shot heard around the boardroom, go after unions. It was those moments that began this downward slide. Look, you could go the assault on labor started even a little bit earlier, but it was really the pedal to the metal during the Reagan years that, we're going after those unions. We're going after, the top marginal tax rate. And those two things are what drove higher wages. Corporations didn't want to give government money, so they gave it to their workers, and the workers had the ability to demand more. So it was this environment that was put into place by the FDR era that built the most prosperous working class in history. And by dismantling those guardrails and going, hey, go get as much as you want, because we got a trillionaire now, Richard.
Yeah.
A trillionaire.
In our lifetime, whether I thought it would happen or not is irrelevant. It has happened. But here's the part about that, and many of the other, if we take the top, let's take the people that were on the stage, if you will, at the inauguration. Let's take those faces that we've all seen now, and juxtapose that against the people who are asking that class of people pay more in taxes, or that we change the tax code to affect taxing differently. And here's my point. Those people are the same ones, and there are hundreds of other business leaders that don't want to see us change taxes. And they also are the ones that don't want to see programs that help people who need help be bolstered up. But ironically, none of them, Musk, Thiel, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and the list goes on, none of them would be where they are had it not been for support systems provided by state and federal governments to help them move their business idea or company forward. And frankly, in some cases, even get it off the ground. And that's where many people forget about the hypocrisy when we talk about social programs and social networks and social.
No, Richard. They pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. They did it all alone. They were, they came from dirt, and they emerged because they were chosen by God to be these people, because that's what we like to tell ourselves or they like us to believe. But the reality is you're right. It was all of our investment. It was all of our blood, sweat, and tears that created these things. And, Trump said the other day that, rich people are leaving blue states, and the blue states are going to be the ghettos of the future because all the rich people are going to be gone. And you go, no, the rich people will be gone. And you know what we'll do? We'll figure out how to make more rich people because we're still going to have to, do all of the things that need to be done. Someone's going to step into that space. We're going to invest in things, especially in blue states that see good governance as a way to get people the things that they need, whether it's healthcare, education, infrastructure, or decent wages. And I come back to, for me, the way forward as a labor guy is we go and we fight and we get stronger contracts, get more people into unions, and we fight for a bigger slice of that pie. The fact that stock buybacks are a thing in this day means that workers aren't being paid enough because there's excess profits
the money's
just
there.
laying around.
The money's there. That's the thing that this is where, and my good friend Karen Byrne, who hosts a podcast, True Blue Politics podcast, is going to be on with us at 7:00. But we talk about this a lot in the framework of the corporate media. The corporate media they cannot talk about what you just said, those last two sentences. The money is there. It's not a question of it not being there, because the stock buybacks is spot on. One of the leading reasons why we know it's there. We know that the resources, not just the money, but all of the resources that would make things better for folks from the bottom up, if you want to use that, it's there. They don't have to go out and create new. It's right there now.
And that's in everything, Richard. That's not just in wages. That's in healthcare. That's in education. That's in everything that made this country great. You go back to the fabulous 50s where everyone goes, that's when America was great. Education, someone could work a minimum wage. I have a friend who, during the 60s, working a waitress job, was able to afford a crappy apartment, a crummy car, and paid her way full through the University of Michigan, all the way through law school. Had no debt. And why was that? Because we invested in that. You want to go through the University of Michigan all the way through law school? What do you think your lifetime debt load is going to be?
You may as well just say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to buy a house instead and start now. Because
good luck doing that.
But good luck doing that.
No, good luck doing that, because back then, the cost of a house back then was 1.5 to 2 times a yearly salary. Now it's 6 to 10 times as much. So, what we've done is we've created this wealth class, this heavy weight on our system that has to be paid patronage or some kind of, here's our honor, here you go. So for us to survive, and look, we can do better. We can do so much better.
Rick, how do you think this? We know that right now the federal government under this administration is completely, there's so many words we can use, but they're so messed up.
They're corrupt.
They're corrupt. Yeah, that's actually we should use that more often. They are corrupt. But let's talk about some states. When you said this about, people are going to be leaving the blue states and going to the red states, first of all, they won't, because the businesses aren't going to do that because of the infrastructure. Every now and again, there's a business that might move for whatever reason. But the infrastructure is not there in those red states to sustain or to even really be attractive to a company that would move from a blue state, if you will. And it's not going to happen in mass. But real quick, and I know we got to jump in a second, but when you were talking earlier about how the number of that point, is there anything that's trackable that's showing that that's happening, or is it just the bluster that's coming from these idiots in Washington?
Well, people move around, and there are going to be high-profile things. I mean, what Trump used to make that statement was Chicago. Evidently, the Bears are moving to Indiana, and True Value hardware stores, which I thought were out of business. I didn't even know they had a headquarters anymore, because I thought they got absorbed. But evidently, they're moving to Indiana as well.
To Fort Wayne,
so that's what they used it as the example. Oh, these are doing this, and I'm going, no, I don't see this mass exodus. But yeah, will there be some high-profile people to move around ideologically to prove a point? Sure, and good, go.
Bye. See, I wouldn't want to be you.
You want to live in Indiana? Go ahead.
Yeah, and because that's what
Texas.
That's what's happening, Rick, and you've seen this. You've actually talked about this. Those communities which have been decimated for such a long time, they have a labor shortage. So why in the hell are you going to move your company to that community? No disrespect to the community, but they don't have the infrastructure, and they don't have the people, the talent to take on the people that are going to be needed to run those businesses. So, but that's the fault. But that's the fault of the leaders in that red community. Just being totally candid. So,
no. But the good thing is, and thank goodness for Donald Trump, recently announced the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. Donald Trump now cares about your electricity rates. He now cares deeply, and understand. Donald Trump promising to protect your utility bills, kind of the same way he protected Atlantic City, right up until the lights went out. So good. But what I did find funny is he then again, as he normally does, makes some you-know-what up, going, the wind wasn't working that day, so people couldn't watch my debate. And you go, again, file this under the daily comment of things that never happen.
Corruption and BS running together. And by the way, Rick, did you get your Trump account started? Did you sign up? Did you get that signed up yet for the grandkids?
Look, I think, but again, this is one of those things that Trump masterfully overtook. I actually agree with the concept. I agree with the concept of baby bonds. I agree with the concept of government doing this. Now you're going to get rid of me, and now you got me ticked off, because that's socialism. That is freaking socialism.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
In favor of.
It's Trump brilliance. No, it's not. Rick Smith, y'all, the host of the Rick Smith Show. And I got him riled up, and he's got that big cherubic smile on now. He's ready to go. Man, thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We appreciate all the work that you do. Have a great weekend, okay?
You too, brother.
And big hugs to you and to your wife and your family, because we have been in your corner for 2 years now in that space, and we just applaud the way in which you've been such a great guy there. So we love you, man. Take care, all right?
Appreciate it, brother.
Talk to you soon. Let's bump out of here. Quick commercial. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We come back. The train is still moving, y'all. Karen Byrne, Jody Hamilton, Scott Smith Pierce. Wow. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu, and I'm hanging out with some of the coolest folks that I get to hang out with. Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast is with us in studio, and across the nation, on the East and the West, we've got our great folks from the Politics Bar. Sean is hanging out with me, and Jody's hanging out with me.
Hello.
Good morning, y'all.
Hello.
Morning.
Okay,
how's everybody doing there in Chicago?
Good morning.
Everybody raised their beverage. I know it's not the Politics Bar, but it is. There we go. Raise a beverage.
Now, if you notice, I got the Nebraska Cornhuskers mug.
Yeah,
Just,
I saw that.
Got to rep my my home state.
There you go. I totally get that. It's good to see you, all three of you guys, and thanks for hanging out with us this morning. I was just talking with Rick Smith about what he made a great point of is that the corruption is the thing right now. And it's clear, it's rampant through this entire administration. There is no, kinda they're doing this or they're leaning toward that. I said last May, I believe it was, that we weren't teetering toward authoritarianism, that we were there. And this past week has been yet another example, as I said, that Marco, Stephen, and Mark Wayne Mullen, made it their thing. That we're coming after you folks that run your mouth when it comes to what we say is going to happen and how we're going to do it, and we don't give a damn what you have to say, because if you say something, we're going to come after you. And for me, beyond pretty much anything that's happened this week, that's been kind of my lightning rod, because I don't think a lot of people are paying attention beyond those of us that are saying things and speaking out. That's the scary thing. That's the thing that we have to not be scared of, but we have to step up to. We have to step up to that.
I think it's interesting that you kind of mentioned that. Although I think it's look, we talked about it. What, Jody? Wednesday, Thursday, something like that with Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
He's talking about it. Heather Cox Richardson was talking about it last night on social media, and the it is what we've jokingly called at the politics bar for over a year now, half-fascism, because it would be a lot scarier if these people actually could count their eyeballs and get the same number twice. I mean, it's Keystone Cops, but terrifying. I mean, yes, it's awful and it's horrible, but just look at the shooting that happened up in Madison.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
I know, and I heard that the first thing this morning, but I'm saying, regardless of if you look at that, you can look at that in complete isolation compared to the half-fascism of the Trump regime, because we had that kind of thing going on, unfortunately, for way too long here in the United States. So there's that, but then there is their half-fascism. Like yesterday, was it evening or whatever it was, the New York Times handing the Trump DOJ their ass and telling them, yeah, those little subpoenas you had where you're trying to go after our journalists, including, by the way, Maggie Haberman, who we all know that you guys have been shoveling information to for a long time. Right. They basically, slid that back across the desk and said, why don't you shove this where the sun don't shine, you... And they're like, oh, I guess we did this wrong. It's like, yeah, because you're idiots. Because you're stupid. Because you can't count your eyeballs and get the same number twice.
Half-fascism, I like that.
Half-ass plus fascism. It's half-fascism. We've been saying for a long time. Karen, I know you laughed when we first said that, like I said, almost a year ago. And yeah.
It's exactly what it is. But it is. It's scary. It's dangerous. It's, seeing what they're doing to people in the streets, with these ICE roundups. It's just, and they're promising more.
And this wasn't even what happened in Madison, wasn't even an ICE roundup.
No.
I mean,
No, this is just business as usual in police departments across the country.
Right. Yeah.
One of the reforms that I firmly believe we all need to get involved in, that absolutely should be, is that law enforcement officers of every type and kind all need to go into a single database. It all has to. If you want to work in that field, you have to be willing to be in a database that will track everything you do, so that way you can't have one little monster go over here and mess things up, and then, we fired him, and he goes over here to another one, and, we didn't look at his record or whatever. No. Be like, look, if you do something like,
and you don't get,
kill somebody,
and the second,
you don't get to be in the career anymore.
The second chance that they're getting when they take someone's life, and particularly when, like I said earlier, and you heard me talk about this, I don't need to let the law enforcement leaders in Madison determine what happened here. We saw it, and we saw that incredibly horrible judgment was used. He assassinated that guy on the streets.
Yep.
There's no question, like, he felt and I even went down the path, and if you guys heard me say this, I'll say it. If you did, I'll say it again. If the taser caused his body to react in a way that jolted him forward, then just step the hell out of the way.
Well, why does it take 4 people to take down one
their
guy?
training sucks.
Yeah, and by the way, what was he checking car doors to see if they were open? Okay, and so that warrants chasing him down, and 4 cops.
And I took culture and race out of this. I just said, listen,
It's
irrespective,
bad policing.
it's yeah, it is. I could lean into that, and there's more than enough instances where it's applicable. But in this case, it's just that has to end. I'm hoping that the state authorities take over this case and not just let it happen in Madison, because we sure as hell don't want the feds to get involved, because who knows what will happen there. But I want to come back to something that you said, Sean, a moment ago, and I'm going to tie this to budget and money. And I often do these calculations where I say, okay, if we spent this amount of money on this, how would it shift the narrative and change people's lives? Pete Hegseth going in front of Congress unprepared. We knew that he was going to come in with all the bravado and the yelling and screaming and breaking out in the sweat and all the things that he did. But the fact that he would come in and ask for that kind of money, basically, I call it a proposal to the person that's going to provide you the loan. You need to come in with all your numbers ready and everything's tight. That wasn't even there. And many of the senators did the right thing in pressing him on how is this money going to be used, and what have you used thus far, to what extent? This is a perfect example of he is not qualified, not only as a military leader, but he's not qualified of the responsibility of the financial side of, one of our biggest budget items in our federal budget. And it was blatant that he wasn't ready to even talk about the real numbers. I thought that was as important as the lack of military preparation or planning that doesn't exist with this war, Trump's war.
Jody, though, I noticed we talked about, and we pulled the Patty Murray this week. I know that I know you really focused on that when Kegbreath stepped up and stumbled all over himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's now there's new reporting that the Pentagon doesn't even have the 18 people that were killed so far. Yeah. They have it down to 14.
Oh yeah, they cut it down.
But did you guys also see about this, Jody, that the numbers of injured, and I talked about this because Ahmad Baba talked about this on his podcast, that the numbers of injured guys, that number is not that's not an accurate number. They're trying to keep it in the 450 range at combined injured and killed, but it's closer based on what was accidentally released, Sean, closer to 750 to 800 people that have actually been injured. And the death toll is actually a higher number.
Absolutely.
I agree.
That does not surprise me.
Jody, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think that the fact that the Pentagon decided 4 bodies just came home.
Right.
We saw them, right? They should be added to that list of what they're admitting to of the other 14 that were there, but they've taken those 4 down because it happened during the ceasefire. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is, and it's like 18 people that we know of are for sure dead.
Right.
Those families know this. There are more families that we don't know about that are grieving their sons and daughters, or husbands and wives, whichever. So it's disgusting.
And
we can't believe that.
To add on to that, Jody, then to now hear Trump talk about the fact that the Iranian people, they're going to further the attacks because the Iranian people, as he's quoted, haven't suffered enough pain yet. And so to all the Christian folk out there that are locked up into this sort of Christian nationalism and we're better than all the rest, the last time I checked, those who are of that belief, one of the tenets is to relieve pain, take pain away from people who are in a lesser stance than you are. But you have your president who wants to inflict more pain.
Well, he compared the deaths so far in the Iranian war with other deaths in other wars,
crazy.
as if that's a good idea. It's like disgusting. That was so disgusting.
First of all, it's a dumb political thing to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with that. But okay, we shouldn't start with that because we're talking about people's lives. But let's talk about it from that perspective. That's a dumb thing to do, Karen.
Yeah.
To start there politically. But that just leans into what Sean, you've said so many times. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care.
No.
I think all of this is of a piece, and part of it is the fact that, yes, I mean, we should. I'm not saying we shouldn't get worked up, because we should, but we need to also remind ourselves to not get caught up in the getting worked up about it. We just need to vent a little, and then mark it down on a sheet, because when we go forward, one of the things, the two big things, we joke over at the Politics Bar, we keep saying, America needs AA, affordability and accountability.
Yep.
And we need to make sure that we have a list. We know in Illinois, Governor Pritzker made sure that you guys have, so people can report all the nasty things that ICE has done, so that when we get a decent federal government back in, that every single one of those ICE monsters is going to have a very hellacious rest of their 50 years that they have to live on Earth. And that's the kind of thing, is we need to make sure that when we get this done, and when we good folks get back in control, every single one of these things that's done, even into removing the names of these people from that death list, everybody who's involved is hurting so bad.
Yeah, talk about inflicting some pain.
They get punished. They get inflict some pain back on the people who did it wrong. So they go, you know what? I'm gonna choose not to do things the wrong way again going forward. I'm not going to follow the half-ashes. I'm not going to be a dumbass.
If I get out of prison in time.
Right, exactly. That's what
Let's
I'm
take
saying.
a quick break, y'all. Let's take a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. It's me, Jody, Sean, Karen, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. If you're just tuning in, I'm Richard Chu. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Jody, thanks to Sean, and thanks to Karen for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, guys. We are the Fantastic Four, as I said earlier today. So there we go.
Nice.
Okay, so let's talk about something that that relates to voting in the fall. That this is my, observation or thoughts on this. So this thing that came about with New Jersey's numbers, the 6,600 folks that showed up on the registration and all that we know about the story. I'm putting this out there as a moment because we know that when Trump got back into office last year and Doge hit the scene and all that they were doing, we know that they were there, but what we don't know, and this is where, it may sound conspiratorial, but I'll put it out there. How do we know that those numbers were not fudged with electronically by someone that wants to make a story about Democratic states? Because let's be honest, based on density of numbers of where there would be potential voters, people registered that are not, quote, legally allowed to vote, right. New Jersey should not be at the top of the list.
Well, I think they're looking at it already, Richard, but this started in 23-24. So first off is that I think we, back in 23, did any of us think that any idiots, that there would be enough idiots that would go, yeah, I'll do Trump again. Sure, that was a good idea. No, right. I don't think any. So, right, exactly. So, the idea is I don't think that in 2023 that they could have planned for what we're dealing with now. So I think that, do I think that there is, and didn't we just talk about this the other day, Jody, about the protection systems at like retail places and stuff?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Here's how, I don't know if any of y'all have worked in retail places. Everybody's gone. You go to, well, maybe you don't go to Target anymore, but if you go to Target, you go to Walmart, you go to wherever, you go to, your grocery store. They got those scanner things when you go into the doors, right? You walk out with something you haven't paid for, and a beep, 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 and light flashes, and right.
Right.
They all do some type of basic retail protection. But y'all realize where the majority of stuff is stolen in retail stores. It's out the back.
At the back, yeah.
Yeah, and if you've worked in a place like that, you know they don't have nothing like that. They don't have the scanners out the back door. They don't have any of that type of stuff. And people go, why? And it's because there is a level of protection at which it's viable and it's sensible to have. You put a lock or two on your front door. You don't put 6 locks on your front door. That's a little ridiculous. There's a certain amount of protection that we absolutely can and should do to all of our voting systems, and that's fine. But the amount of we're not going to have a 0.0% perfect. Everything is perfect every single time in every election, everywhere, all the time. The amount of resources that it would take. We simply, I mean, hell, you'd be spending the military budget.
I was just to say we'd have to adjust the military budget to have perfection.
Right.
I don't think perfection. It's not realistic.
I don't think perfection is realistic. Right.
And on top of that, or alongside of that, maybe is better. Neither is it necessary because we don't have evidence, real data that backs up that we've had these systemic problems anywhere in the country. So. I just had my, partly my conspiratorial.
No, I think it's accurate. They were in all of our stuff. I mean, and Starlink was part of. I mean, Elon Musk was very much involved in
and what we don't
the process.
What we don't know is to what extent and what the plan was.
Right. I don't think
with the packages that these guys were bringing in to affect. I mean, hell, they were affecting certain things. How can we not at least think about it? But
we're still going to be finding, Dogebag crumbs like 10 years down the road, I'm sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
yeah.
Without a doubt. So we got as some people are saying, we've got an issue with pooping and boo-booing as it relates. So
I get the pooping thing. Obviously, it's a lettuce thing,
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, no print.
Oh,
nice.
Karen.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. I saw somebody put this up on, I can't remember which social media platform it was. It says, normally at church sometimes they say, let us pray. Only this time you ain't saying lettuce. And
just pray, y'all.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's that in and of itself is just one more proof of the ineptitude, and we've all talked about this and all the different formats
Richard,
that we're on.
It's one more proof of how crappy this government is.
Well, one could say
You
though
guys are too punny this morning. Way too punny.
Thank you.
well, one could say that we're not really full of it then.
No, we're definitely not full of it.
Not anymore.
One of our producers, Mike, is in the background, just giving me the thumbs down, like, Richard, stop! You're burying yourself in a load
Mike,
of it.
are you saying these jokes are going right through you? Is that what you're saying, Mike?
He's dying back there. It's like, come on, guys.
Poop is funny. Poop is funny.
But it is.
It is. It's some of the we got a thing coming up tonight at the Politics Bar. Can't say what it is. In fact, if y'all have some fun jokes that you want to send us, little simple jokes, you can get on any of the social media platforms at the Politics Bar. You can tell us your simple jokes, even if they're a little bit bawdy or dirty. That's okay. We'll clean them up for the bar so everybody can hear it. But poop is one of these things. Like thousands of years ago, some of the earliest jokes they have are about things like poop and farting.
Oh,
Yeah, let's like record.
See?
Humans go, hey, what's
It's
the oldest
timeless.
joke you have? Right, exactly.
Anybody
Exactly.
that's too uptight to talk about those two things, they just
Yeah.
need to let it go.
Hey, oh.
Wow. And then he drops that deuce. Oh,
Man.
When I get the still head shake from Jody, I know it's like, all right. She's just
Don't get the look from Jody.
right.
That's-
She's got that mom look like. Y'all need to stop.
yeah.
Just stop. Now I got the finger wave.
She's gonna call you Richard Louise in a minute.
I know.
I am
you
going
go.
to call you Richard Louise in a minute.
That's right. That's right. I actually had an Aunt Louise. She was the bomb. So, guys, we have to add the humor and the levity to what's going on because, in large part, there are so many people who are not able to have that outlet. And I think that one of our opportunities that we all have is to make sure that we're bringing as much kindness and humor and connection. And connection is a big one for me to people that are they don't have the tools. They're not the tools. They don't have the access. That's a better word. They're in a silo, and so the opportunity for all of us is to continue to make those connections. So it always means a lot to me that you guys would take some time to hang out. What y'all got going on tonight at the bar? In addition to the bad jokes.
Well, we have this wonderful couple of people coming in. One of them, I believe, was wearing a Rush 50 concert shirt. I believe her name is Karen Byrne.
I heard about that. I wonder how did she get that shirt? I mean, like, does she know somebody?
Don't tell Bob. Don't tell Bob Seska. Don't tell Bob Seska. He's gonna be a damn man. No, well, but look, Karen and Anita are gonna be in. Oh, and Carolyn Fiddler. Just okay, and she's among other things. Carolyn is one of those legal eagle folks that we have.
Nice.
The legal bar from the politics bar, and we're going to be talking about the whole Paramount, Warner Brothers Discovery thing, and about the fact that it's not looking very good for the Ellisons. Oh, I feel so.
Check this out real quick before we jump. But and in addition to that, the suit that Trump. The $10 billion.
Times?
Yes. I want keep that train moving, Donald, so that we can get the discovery, because the judge, from what I understand, has ordered that the information on the trust and some other parts of the quote Trump family businesses got to ante up. Oh, Lord, help us.
Yeah.
Please.
Seriously, when other countries are doing the job,
know.
that we should be
That's
doing
a damn
here. I
shame.
mean, the Tate brothers.
That's a damn shame when other countries are doing it. Listen, y'all, we got to get to this break. Jody, it's good to see you. Glad you're well. My brother from another, other. Sean,
look, man.
Good to see you, man.
I love it, man. You're in my ears every morning, so I appreciate it, man.
Y'all be safe, okay? Love you both and stay safe. Talk to you soon.
Hey, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See y'all tonight, folks.
Bye.
Yeah. Quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM for Warren County, North Carolina, and 950 AM, that is, up in Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. Karen Burns hanging out with me. When we come back, we'll be talking with the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farm Labor Party, Richard Carlbaum. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Choose Views, and I'm Richard Chu with our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast. Thanks to Jody and Sean for hanging out with us a little bit earlier. I guess the thing I want to say about our next guest is when you stand for something, something gets done. And he has done that. He has stood for a lot of things. But he's got a history of standing up and getting elected to office early in his career as the mayor of St. Joseph, Minnesota, back in 2004. That's led him to be now what so many people are saying is one of the most powerful voices in the Democratic Party as the Minnesota Democratic Farm Labor Party chair. Richard Carlbaum, good morning to another Richard on a Friday morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It is great to have you on the show. And I know that, like so many of us in the Midwest right now and throughout the country, we're paying attention to yet another tragedy that's taken place in one of our Midwestern cities with the shooting that took place in Madison. You know this. I'm putting words in your mouth, but for a good reason. When something happens here in our Midwestern cities, it affects us all. Because we're a big Midwestern family. How are you and those that are part of your team there and kind of navigating this? I know that's in the state between us in terms of Wisconsin, but how are you sort of navigating through that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's yet another situation that we have to as Midwesterners confront the reality of it, and it's certainly the talk in community up here. People are lifting up Madison and trying to understand how we can stop this kind of madness that takes place. It's so critical that, in Minnesota, and I feel like this is a Midwestern trait, when things get tough, we don't look away. We look toward one another to see what we can do to support each other. We don't look down, but we look up to the eyes of our neighbors to say, how can we be helpful? And I think that's what Minnesotans and Midwesterners are trained to do.
Yeah. Chairman, talk a little bit about the state of politics in Minnesota. It has, for such a long time, been one of the backbones in U.S. politics for decades. And so we've seen some oscillation. And right now we've got a very important race with the governor's race there. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that whoever the Democrat is, that there's a Democrat that becomes the governor of the state of Minnesota, because I'm not. It's not that I'm not a fan of Michelle Tafoya, but she's just not qualified. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we have both an open governor's race and an open U.S. Senate race. In the governor's race, we have Senator Amy Klobuchar. Our senior senator has decided to come home from Washington and run for the position of governor, which we're thrilled about. She is one of the top vote getters every election cycle she's on the ballot. She really does have the trust of Minnesotans, and so we're very excited and fortunate to have Senator Klobuchar running as our DFL endorsed nominee, and she'll get through the primary no problem. On the Senate side, and then on the Republican side, we of course have the pillow guy. Mike Lindell is running for governor of Minnesota. He is the chief election denier. This guy is a Donald Trump clone. Donald Trump just last weekend at Bedminster, his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, literally sang his praises in front of the crowd and called him one of his longest friends. It's just really remarkable to see Mike Lindell come from, being sued for billions of dollars for election denial fraud to now being the leading candidate for governor for Republicans in Minnesota. But listen, we take him seriously because I never thought Trump could beat Hillary in 2016, and I don't want to be in a position where we don't take Mike Lindell seriously in Minnesota. And so we're going to do everything we need to do to make sure Minnesotans understand who Mike Lindell is, which is he's a clone of Donald Trump, and he's the chief election denier. On the U.S. Senate side, this seat is really important. Tina Smith, our junior senator, is retiring. We have a primary battle between Angie Craig, Congresswoman from the 2nd District, and our endorsed candidate, Peggy Flanagan, our Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Governor Flanagan is bringing in the crowds. The energy is surging in our party right now. She's incredible.
We had her on the show last week, and just, wow.
Yes, ball of energy. That is Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. She is bringing all the positive vibes. Minnesota, we cherish our summers. We call them the summer vibes. And she's like embodying what is the summer vibe in Minnesota. So I'm very excited about her. And then you mentioned Tafoya running for the Senate on this side. I think she'll probably get through the primary, although she's not the endorsed Republican. They endorsed another election denial person. Yeah. So that's who the Republicans are.
We can't have her as a senator. We can't have anybody other than a Democrat as a governor. And this is, I think, one of those times when, and I've said this before many times, in fact, on my show, that Karen, who is in with us this morning, has said, no, both sides don't do it. Mm-hmm. She said that hundreds of times. Both sides don't do it. And I've said, along with her point, and it's okay to draw the line in the sand and be partisan. Because it means that's why where I started with you. You're standing for something. We're standing for the ideas that we believe in. We don't need to have our ideas compared with theirs because their ideas don't work. And typically, Chair Richard, they harm more people than they help. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about that from your perspective, about standing for something. And we can draw the line.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw it in Minnesota during Operation Metro Surge when Trump sent 3,000 ICE agents into our streets. They killed 2 Minnesotans, and in that moment, Minnesota stood up. Mm-hmm. As I said earlier, Minnesotans didn't look away. We looked toward one another. We stood up mutual aid networks. We understood how to get people to work and back. We shuttled them in vehicles with tinted windows. We did everything we could to protect our neighbors. I personally delivered groceries to families who were too afraid to leave their house. They were card-carrying U.S. citizens, and they're too afraid to leave their house, and I delivered groceries to their door. That is what Minnesotans do. We drew a line, and here's what's incredible to me. We drew that line, and every single Republican in this state chose to go on the other side of it and stand with Donald Trump. Yeah. When Republicans had a choice, are you going to stand with Minnesotans, the people who elect you to represent you, or are you going to stand with Donald Trump? Every single one of them stood with Donald Trump, supported Metro Surge and the ICE agents. In fact, Tom Emmer, the whip in the House, who's from Minnesota, said, "Go get him, boys," the day before Renee Good was killed.
Yeah, it's shameful to see that people, to your point, who've been elected by folk, would actually stand stand on the side of the thing that's going to harm them. I still trouble myself. I I'm troubled by, and I don't want to sound like Susan Collins. Trust me, I'm trying so doggone hard not to sound like Susan Collins.
Deeply concerned,
troubled, flummoxed. But it boggles my mind that people would actually stand with people that are going to do something that is ultimately going to harm you. And so I've said this, and I've gotten criticized, and I'm fine with it. Don't blame the voters. But at some point, the voters have some responsibility in this for not seeing, with all that's out there, what the different choices are. And call me crazy, but Chair Richard, give us your thoughts there in terms of how we can do the better job, the more efficient job of having voters really understand that we stand for them, not against them.
Well, I think voters are starting to shift on this, and you're seeing this around the country in these special elections that have been happening in 25 and 26. But I think you're especially going to see it happen 103 days from now when we have the November 3rd midterm election. What's happening is Minnesotans, and I'll just speak from a Minnesota perspective, Minnesotans are looking at their pocketbook and they're realizing that Republicans promised that on day one, they would lower prices. Mm-hmm. But instead, tariffs, a war of choice in Iran, every decision coming, the big, beautiful betrayal of a bill. Every decision coming out of Washington has actually made life more expensive for them. It has increased the cost of groceries, increased the cost of rent, increased mortgage rates. It has increased healthcare costs, childcare costs. Costs across the board are up because of Republican choices. These are not happenstance. This is not even inflation that's driving this. These are literally choices made by members of Congress who refuse to stand up to Donald Trump. They promised to lower prices on day one, but instead, every chance they've had, the choice they've made has made life more expensive for Americans. And so I think at the ballot box on November 3rd of this year, Minnesotans, Americans are going to go and they're going to hold Republicans accountable for that exact broken promise.
I'm really excited about that. And the other side of it is, what do we do now in terms of, okay, we've got the House back and maybe get the Senate. We've maintained some governor's mansions. We've gotten the numbers shifted in state legislatures. And I say this oftentimes, when we get there, back in that role, across the board, we got to walk in the door and do stuff. We got to walk in the door and knock some tables over. I use that phrase a lot. I'm hoping that leaders like you are letting the candidates know who are running. That's what's got to happen. We don't have to wait. We can't afford to wait X number of days. We have to walk in basically and start the work. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So first and foremost, Minnesota is going to be helpful. We're going to flip one of our Republican districts, Democrat, the first district of Minnesota, which represents Rochester, the Mayo Clinic, and Mankato, Winona. That district's going blue. So we're going to help take back Congress, first and foremost. Second, when they get there, they absolutely need to be the check on this president. And here's why. And here's what I tell our candidates all the time. In the New York Times, Donald Trump months ago, last year, said the only check on my morality, or the only check on my power, is my own morality. That's what he said. Yep, Article 1 of the Constitution is the check on presidential power. That is Congress. And so far, Republicans in Congress, which can control Congress, have abdicated that responsibility. And because of that, the American people are suffering from higher prices across the board. And so what I tell our candidates is, you get to reassert Article 1 of the Constitution. The legislative branch is the check on the executive power. And that is the most important thing we need to do when we elect a Democratic majority in November of this year.
I love hearing that. That's got to be the message coming from every state chair of Democratic state chairs, because we have to go there with that intent. And
we talk about supermajority. I mean, I think we need to do more than just a majority. We need to have a supermajority in between this election and the 2028 election. Like, we have got to be fearless and be bold. And talk to people about that, who are struggling and who are seeing all of this lawlessness unfold in the city streets, with ICE and all of it. And, billions of dollars being made by the Trump family.
Yeah, that corruption is crazy.
Yeah.
Talk about supermajority real quick, and then we're going to go to a quick break.
Yeah, look, we need to obviously win, and we say this all the time. We're going to deliver the largest electoral defeat of a sitting president in the history of Minnesota midterms, and I hope Americans do that across the country. If we do that, we will pick up congressional seats here in Minnesota. We'll keep the 2 U.S. Senate seats, and we'll be able to have, at least from a Minnesota perspective, a supermajority. I also want to say, Melissa Hortman, who is our beloved Speaker of the House, assassinated last year. Her assassin who murdered her was sentenced this week, and there's no justice that will come from that sentence. But I will tell you this, we are hell-bent on taking back the Minnesota House for Speaker Hortman. And that is a place where we're going to push a supermajority goal as well.
And then you'll have the trifecta, if I got things right. So we have the trifecta and the triangle.
We'll have Senate and governors, right?
Yeah, that's what we need. That when we have those, Chair Carlburn, we get stuff done. It's been proven in so many different states. So let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, as well as our good friends where? The progressive voice of Minnesota, AM 950. I'm Richard Chu with Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast and our great state leader, chair of the DFL in Minnesota, Richard Carlburn. We'll be right back. Hey guys, this is Richard Chu, host of Choose Views. That's what you're listening to if you're just tuning in. Here with my good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast and the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farm Labor Party, Richard Carlburn. Let me ask you this question. Let me make a statement in question. You've been a part of two of the most significant bits of legislation in the state. One, both of them affecting families, obviously with regards to making sure that children are fed and that people have the right and the joy of marrying who they choose to marry. Talk to us a little bit about you being a part of two of those big pieces of legislation.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2012, Minnesota became the first state in the country to defeat a hurtful and divisive amendment that would ban gay marriage in our Constitution. I was lucky enough to be the one who was the campaign manager, the leader of that fight in 2012. When we won in November, we then shifted and went into a legislative campaign. And 6 months later, we had then Governor Mark Dayton sign marriage equality into law in Minnesota in 2013. So that was really special. I then myself got to get married in Minnesota in December of 2013 to my husband, Justin. And, now we've been together 19 total years, obviously married since 13. And then the other one happened in 2023. We won a slim majority in the House and Senate, and we had the governor's office, and we, the governor and the speaker and the Senate leader sat down and made a list of things that they wanted to accomplish, and one of them was universal school meals, so that every kiddo in school gets breakfast and lunch. And you know what? We got it done. We got it done just weeks into the legislative session, and because of that, it saves families on average $2,000 a year per kid. So if you're got two kids in school, you're saving $4,000 a year. That's probably anywhere between 3 and 4 mortgage payments. That is significant opportunity for us to cut costs for families. And it's really, kids now are actually able to learn because they're not, going hungry.
Yeah. I look at it from my financial planning days. That $4,000 properly, conservatively, if you will, invested, if it's saved and not having to be spent, furthers that family's ability to achieve wealth, having that available to them in their line item, their kitchen table items. So a lot of times when I hear folks talk about kitchen table items, they don't get into that part of the nuance. And it is nuance that, okay, so we save $4,000 a year. Maybe we don't spend it on something else. Maybe we use it toward our children's future as it relates to their education, as it relates to a variety of different things. And that's the part where I think a lot of folks, we all have such a huge opportunity to talk about it from that vantage point. So kudos to you, Chair, for making sure that these things were done. And they were, again, nobody's lives were harmed. This is the problem with the difference between Republican, policy and ideas, which stink. They just do, because it's about taking stuff away from people. It's not about making lives better. These two things clearly made people's lives better in the state of Minnesota. And a template. This is the thing. Everybody should know this. They were a template for what we were trying to get done on the federal level. And I do believe that if Vice President Harris and Governor Walz had won, that this program that you guys got done in Minnesota would have been part of our federal programming versus the direction that we went with SNAP. I mean, it's crazy, but take the baton on that one, Chair.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about the shifts that they're doing in SNAP and the states that's harming, and listen, I talk about harming states. This is harming families, right? We have to make it real. We have to make it connected to the people we see each and every day. When you go to the grocery store next time, you're literally likely, if you spend 10 minutes in a line or around the checkouts, you're going to literally see families trying to figure out what they need to put back because they can't make the budget work, right? That happens all the time. I see it all the time. Those folks, some of those folks are relying on SNAP benefits to get through. And right now, the federal government is playing all these games with the SNAP program, which has been one of the most important anti-poverty, especially childhood poverty programs we've ever had. Between SNAP and Social Security, that's the greatest anti-poverty senior program in the history. Both programs championed by Democrats, both programs under threat by Republicans. And when it comes to SNAP shifts in Minnesota, it can have a devastating consequence because the counties and the state can't absorb all of these cuts that are coming. First, it was healthcare and Medicare and Medicaid, and now they're going to be SNAP cuts. I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah. Karen had a comment about some of the things that are going on in the LGBTQ community.
Yeah. So, differentiating ourselves from the Republican Party is not difficult to do. And, I hear so many people criticize Democrats. Well, we have to get the messaging better and everything. I don't know what they're watching, who they're listening to. I think the Democrats are doing a banner job of getting what we stand for, what we believe in, while these other idiots on the other side of the aisle are running around attacking, and targeting people. And one of the favorite targets, of course, is the trans community. Trans children and their parents. I am the proud, very, very proud parent of a trans son. And this one particular issue, it's difficult for me to even articulate how traumatizing that is to hear these people that have this platform and they're targeting people that literally are a fraction of our population. What do you say, though, because this is something that has bothered me? There have been a few Democratic officials as well as candidates who have specifically thrown trans people under the bus in order to have a conversation with podcasters, these broadcasters. What do you say to them?
Or the vaunted middle that they want to appeal to.
Right. What do you?
Go ahead, Chair.
Yeah, well, what I would say first off is my heart is with you, and I'm so sorry that your family has to endure these unfair and deeply personal attacks. What I want to say is that this is about humanity, and every human being in this country has the right to life, dignity, and the pursuit of happiness. And I am so tired of the right trying to scapegoat one community after another. First, they came after the gay community. We fought back, right? Now they're going after the trans community. They've gone after community after community, and it's inhumane what they're doing. It is absolutely unconscionable. And we as Democrats have to stand up for our fellow Americans and say, this has to stop.
Yeah. I think
at the expense of someone's humanity, you are not allowed to take away rights and liberty because you want to score political points. We will not stand for it. In Minnesota, we became first a trans refuge state by executive order, and then we codified it in law to make sure that people could come to Minnesota and get the care and access they need, whether it's a job security, housing security, or access to health care. We care deeply about the trans community, and we will continue to stand up to these unfair attacks on that community.
And I think no matter where it comes from, to Karen's question and point, whether it comes from the right or occasionally there's someone on the left that doesn't necessarily know where he or she stands on the issue. And I think they get caught up in trying to play politics on something that doesn't reflect the humanity in this conversation. And some of the handful of folks on the left that have done that, they need to be checked as well, in my opinion. They need to be called out on that, because at that point, it doesn't become about where you sit politically. It becomes about what you said, Chair Richard, and that's the humanity part of it, which is incredibly important, how we get through this successfully. Let me ask you this, as we kind of come toward the end of our segment, and it's been really cool having you on, and we got to figure out how to do this again, because we got so much winning to do, winning our way, not the Trump way or the administration's way. But talk to us about what do you want to see from folks in Minnesota, and what do you want to see from folks throughout the country as it relates to what we've got to do and how we've got to stay inspired to be able to go forward successfully?
Start listening to the voters. Take the time to listen to voters, listen to your fellow neighbors, and ask them a simple question. How are you doing? You know, for years, our coordinated campaign script when we go door-to-door canvassing would start with launch right into why we're there to advocate on behalf of Democrats. This year, we're trying something new. The first question is, how are you doing? And it is unlocking conversations that are magical. It is creating a bridge of trust with those voters that allow us to walk over that bridge of trust to the ballot box together so that they ultimately cast their ballot for Democrats. And this weekend, we're marking 100 days out from the midterm election. 100 days out, we have a massive weekend of action. We're launching dozens and dozens of canvases, door knocks all over the state. We have offices in every corner of the state. We are organizing everywhere so that we can win anywhere in 2026. And I want people to get out there, go door to door and listen. People say to me, does canvassing really still work? Is door knocking still worth it? Listen, politics right now is as far as somebody can reach. And if you are canvassing your neighborhood and asking your neighbor how they're doing and then talking to them about what Democrats will do to lower costs, I guarantee you that is going to be a more meaningful conversation than $1 million worth of TV ads this fall. Yeah. So we need people to be out there on the doors. It is more important than ever. Thank you for your time today. I was really honored to be on your show.
My pleasure to have you with us. I was looking forward to it, and whenever I get to talk to another Richard, it's always a good day for me. So, he is the chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farm Labor Party. His name is Richard Carlbaum, and you guys need to follow him and get in his business so he can be a resource and a tool to help us do what we say we got to do, which is to keep winning. Thanks, Chair, for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye now. Karen?
Thank you.
We did it again.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for tuning in to our show this morning. Thanks to Jody and to Sean. Thanks to Senator Sims for being with us. Thanks to Rick Smith. I mean, we were loaded up. The wagon was full today.
Yeah.
There you go. And thanks to Mike and to Henry for always keeping us on the rails. What can I tell you guys other than stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show? Take a deep breath. Make your life count. We'll see you next week.